ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and we're back. Third show in a quick 2 hours. Shout out to Scotty Webb as we break down our breakfast bankroll early in the morning, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. Quick guest with Andrew McGinnis at Wager Talk, talking some hockey, some college hoops, and a quick NFL breakdown of the Packers and Bears. Now, in his weekly spot, Mr. Nick Hathcoat. Go follow him at nhathcoat413, Insiders FB on the Twitter, as we're here to talk some college football as it's championship weekend, of course. And Sunday, the brackets come out, and the headliner is, will the Irish Eyes be smiling on Sunday? But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wines. Terry's got it all. What better way to introduce yourself than in the Christmas holidays? AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Nick Hathcoat. What's up, Nick?
Morning, Jeff. How's it going?
It's going well. Yourself?
Good. Had a great holiday weekend up in Indiana with the family. Got about 4 inches of snow, though, which I'm not used to it being in Knoxville anymore. So that was interesting. But yeah, got back here safely on Wednesday, and yeah, ready for this weekend of college football. It should be great.
You know, listen, we've been doing shows for weeks upon weeks. We've been talking about carnage. We've been talking about train crashes just to shake it up. You know, this team lost to this team in week one, while this team lost to this team, and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And if we played Ohio University instead of Ohio State, blah, 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 blah. You know, obviously, the Ohio State, Miami, chicken and egg. We can go back and forth. Texas, whining. Coaches, already 19 coaches have left the building. Some coaches play today. You know, and the real funny is, if BYU beats Texas Tech, then it really gets funny. And then obviously if Alabama loses to Georgia, well, now there's a 3-loss team. Should they be penalized? Of course, because they're playing in a title game versus the people outside looking in. Popsicle headache. Before we dig in, your thoughts?
Yeah, headache is one way to put it. There's so many, and I'm sure we'll get into it. There's so many different outcomes based on probably about 4 of the big 6 games are going to make a difference this weekend, which is great. Some of them are not great on paper. We'll admit that. But the ramifications they have looking forward do. Big picture, I think these conferences, it's tough now. These conferences have gotten so big because you can't have exact schedules anymore where they're just going to match up. Like, you look at A&M's SEC schedule this year versus say Tennessee's or Florida's, or Alabama's is a great one. So that's tough. And then you look at the Big Ten. Oregon basically avoided got to avoid Ohio State, avoided Michigan. So there's just some big teams like that are, I wouldn't say getting the easy way out, but their schedule is lined up that way this year. And it's the same thing. You look at Miami. Miami's the best team in the ACC. I don't think anybody would dispute that right now. And they're not even in the ACC championship game because of the way their conference is structured, which I think is absolutely stupid. We might get into that, but they kind of screwed themselves on that one. So yeah, this big picture, it's going to be a mess. There's a way where no chaos happens, and that's possible too. But we know how these games go. Something weird is going to happen this weekend. You can almost guarantee it.
I got on my soapbox yesterday with Matt, and it was funny. Matt's like after the show, geez, great debates. We're not used to some debates. And again, this is my thoughts, and I'm not here to pump my chest out. And the same, we're just talking sports, something we love and enjoy. And I'm going to say something to you, and I don't want it to rub you the wrong way. Okay? I know you're a big Irish guy. And here's my thoughts. When I was growing up, when I had hair, and when I was this wise guy that knew everything when I knew nothing, Notre Dame ruled the roost. They had their own network. They were on at 2:30. The world stopped to watch Notre Dame. And now we're into where these guys are getting paid. And if they're not getting a raise or they didn't get the promised playing time after 1 year, what do? They just jump in the transfer portal, and whoever pays them the most, they go there and start over. Your Notre Dame team doesn't have a conference in football, but it plays in the ACC and everything else. And I said this tongue in cheek, but I'm being serious here. Should you be in the playoffs? Yeah, you should. There's no doubt in my mind you should be in the playoffs, and especially you were the runner-up last year, okay? But I am going to tell you, I'm going to look you guys straight in the eye and say, here, it's clear and simple. I'm going to give you 1 year. I'm going to give you 2026 to play out this schedule again. By 2027, you better pick a conference, whether you want to play in the ACC or you want to move to the Big Ten, and that's it. Otherwise, you're going to be more outside looking in.
I disagree with that. I see where a lot of people come from when they say that. And I don't think, because it's such a big, I guess it's on the premise of other teams refusing to schedule Notre Dame in the future. They already have most of their schedules built out through 2031 right now because of their NBC contract. So that's not happening. Revenue comes, like, teams get so much revenue also from Notre Dame being on NBC that teams want that little bump. Like, even like whether it's Texas A&M, there's a reason Texas A&M wanted to come to Notre Dame. There's a reason we played Miami 2 years. And every year, like, Georgia came in, Clemson's come in. So it's one of those things. I don't think the teams are going to back out of it. Now, in terms of joining the conference, it would obviously be the ACC that they would join just because of that contract that they have in the other sports. Now, what people don't realize, or just I don't think have paid attention to, is since Notre Dame signed that contract 5 years ago where they have to play, I believe it's 6 ACC games every single season, they're 50-7 in those games. There wouldn't be much of a difference. They also were in the conference officially in 2021 because of those scheduling conflicts because of COVID. They won the ACC that year. Like, they beat Clemson and won the ACC. So I don't think there'd be any difference from that standpoint. And also, if they were in the ACC this year, their strength of schedule would have been worse than it is now. Their strength of record would have been worse. Their FPI would have been worse. Everything that we look at analytically would be worse. And they also wouldn't have played like A&M at that point. So you're talking they're either one loss, well, say Miami still beats them. Then who's the toughest team they played then? Is it LS or Louisville, SMU? So I get where people come from that standpoint, but they're not joining the SEC. They're not joining the Big Ten. So it would only be the ACC, which would only hurt them.
Yeah, but Duke at 7-5 with a win is in the tournament. Why? Because they won the ACC title.
They still wouldn't be in, I don't think. As long as James Madison takes care of business today, I think they would end up with they'd be two Power 5 teams because they're not. Duke wouldn't be ranked.
But correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. If you win your title game If Duke wins, they're the SEC. I mean, yes, the ACC champs, correct?
Correct.
Now, don't you get an automatic bid if you win? Okay.
No, so that's where there is some discourse there. So it's the five highest ranked or five or six highest ranked conference champs. So James Madison would be a conference champ, ranked higher than Duke, and either North Texas or Tulane, whoever wins tonight, would be a conference champ over Duke. So they would be the odd man out. Now that's why I said the ACC has absolutely screwed themselves by doing it this way. Because if it's Miami, they're higher ranked. Virginia will be higher ranked. But yeah, if Duke wins with 5 losses, the ACC might completely get shut out unless Miami ends up getting in as an at-large.
All right. So, all right. But again, my misunderstanding, in other words, win your title game, you're in. And James Madison, we know, well, not we know, on a
If
neutral
Virginia
field.
wins, if Virginia wins, they're automatically in, no matter what.
Correct.
Like as long as because they'll be ranked higher than James Madison.
James Madison, I think, is better than North Texas and Tulane and Duke.
I think they're better than Duke. I don't know about the other two because the schedule's it's so hard to tell between those teams because I think North Texas and Tulane have played such a tougher schedule than James Madison has. So that's kind of where it's tough. That would be one like you'd have to kind of see on a field. I know North Texas would be a 7.5 point favorite over James Madison. I looked at that earlier this week. So that actually did surprise me. It was that big. I assumed it'd be somewhere around like the 3 or 4 range. But yeah, what I don't want, that's the bad thing. I do not want Duke winning because I don't, just as a college football fan in general, this has nothing to do with Notre Dame or anybody else. I don't want 2 group of 5 teams in the playoffs. We saw what happened last year. We've seen what happens like when these big schools get a small school in the tournament. It'll be ugly. Like I don't want spreads of 21 in the playoffs, especially twice. Like we're going to get one, like whether it's Georgia facing North Texas or Tulane, or it's if A&M, any of them, it's going to be a huge spread. And I don't want 2 of those games where we just get blowouts. I want the best. If it was up to me, I'd have the best 12 teams in.
I'm going to give you a little scenario here. I want your thoughts, and you can use your Notre Dame eyes as well if you want here in this regards. Georgia, who's already lost to Alabama between the hedges, who Kirby Smart is 1-7 against Alabama. His only win was in the national title win, which a couple years ago, Alabama had to win to get into the Final Four in the SEC championship. Georgia was in no matter what. Alabama wins, Georgia gets them on the revenge game to win the national championship. Alabama loses opening week to Florida State, 13-point favorites, and then they got on a roll. They looked good. They looked the part. In comes Oklahoma to Alabama and beats them. Now they're in the SEC title game. With a win, obviously they're in. With a loss, now they have 3 losses, and 2 of them in the last month. The committee's been hearing nothing about the chicken and the egg, Miami and Notre Dame. Miami beat Notre Dame. We know that. We all know that. My question to you, Coach Hathcoat, you're on the committee. Does Alabama get penalized? Let's say Georgia wins 23-7. They have 3 losses. They've lost 2 in the last month. And they can stop the wah and say, well, Georgia, Alabama, you had a great year. You're leaking a little oil. We're going to stop the nonsense and we're going to put both Miami and Notre Dame in. And thanks for playing.
Yeah, that's it. That's where it's going to be interesting. I think what happened, I don't think they penalize them to where they kick them out necessarily, but I do think what happens, and from Notre Dame eyes, is that helps Notre Dame. Because clearly the committee sees Notre Dame and Bama right next to each other. I was confused, and this wasn't as a Notre Dame fan. This was just a football fan in general, why all of a sudden this was the week that Bama jumped Notre Dame after having a 44% win probability against Auburn, who has 5 wins. So like the committee, and they said it like they were impressed by it going on for it on 4th down and stuff like it's like why we're in that situation. So that was weird. But I think what happens, I think that helps Notre Dame because I think what will happen is they will jump, like they will flip flop those 2 back. So I think they'll flip back, And then that helps Notre Dame because then the comparison kind of goes to Miami and Alabama, and they can't do the head to head unless those teams are like right next to each other. I think if Alabama wins and if basically say Notre Dame stays at 10, which basically the last that large bid, and Miami's the next that large bid possible, then I think they'll look at head to head, and then I think Miami gets in over Notre Dame. So
So you're still sticking with that, huh?
I really am. And because they keep saying it and they keep reiterating it that until they are comparable, that's when we will do the head. That's when head will matter the most. Um, I don't think they're that close. And people are like dogging on the committee, but Notre Dame is ranked like for some reason they don't notice that Notre Dame's ranked higher than AP poll, the coaches poll, FPI, Sagarin rankings, everybody's power rankings, but everybody's focused on why are they ahead of Miami in the playoff? So it'll be if you said it earlier. If BYU wins, that's all out the door. Both Notre Dame's out, Miami's out. I think that's completely out the door at that point. So yeah, Notre Dame is big Georgia fans and even bigger Texas Tech fans this week.
And they've been Texas Tech been my dark horse forever. I
Oh my
went on
gosh.
a rant, and I'm like, what? I keep asking everyone on our shows. I'm like, what am I missing with this Oregon team? I don't see the flash and flare of Bo Nix in the past years. And it was like the committee was listening, and they finally watched Texas Tech on Saturday, and then they watched Oregon, Washington. They said, "All right, Jeff, you're right. We're going to flip flop those two teams."
Yeah, I think it's so week to week because the only reason they're ahead of Texas Tech in the first place, I think, because of their only loss was Indiana. Not a bad loss, obviously. They're one of the top 2-3 teams in the country. And then it was the week before was they beat USC and Texas Tech beat I can't remember who it was that week. Maybe was it Arizona, maybe, but it like wasn't anything impressive. And then you have Oregon, Washington, and then Texas Tech wins blowout fashion again. And it's just like, okay, we now this week we think eye test says more that Texas Tech is better, which I agree with. I think Texas Tech is better than Oregon from what I've seen, just because their offensive and defensive lines are stacked, and Barry Morton seems fully healthy. We'll see. He hasn't had much contest the last couple of weeks to really prove it. So BYU will be a test for sure. But yeah, I think Texas Tech deserves to be there. I could even see them. I think they could get a bye. I think if Alabama beats Georgia, I think I could see Texas Tech jumping into that into that 4 range and getting that bye.
Oh no, they're at 4 now.
Oh, they're at 4 now. Okay, sorry. I was what was I can't remember what scenario I was thinking of or talking about. Because Alabama, I guess if they beat Georgia twice, like people have been talking about them getting a bye. I don't think they deserve it, but it's possible just because of the wins they have on their schedule with 2 losses. I think it should be Texas Tech getting a bye. I think they deserve it, especially if they look good against BYU again. Then and they can say also their only loss this season was with their backup quarterback against an Arizona State team who's not great, but they're not bad either. And that even came down to what was like a 20-second. It was a 20-second touchdown with 20 seconds left, like 75-yard touchdown pass. So it was kind of a fluke, anyways. I think Texas Tech. Can they win it all? I don't know. That's still kind of left to be seen. But I think they're probably one of the top 5 or 6 teams.
Answer this for me. Another me and Matt debate here. Ohio State, Indiana, Big Ten championship last year. Ohio State on the sidelines after the Michigan loss, haven't lost since then. Got an extra week to sit in their poop, an extra week to regroup, and then they just steamrolled. They did, if I remember correct, open up against against the Vols there. 7.5 point favorites, and Nico. I was so excited for that game, and then I think by the second quarter I was watching something else. It was ugly. But my point here is, both win, lose, or draw, both are going to still be in the top 4. Both are still going to be getting a bye. More bragging rights, I think, for Indiana wanting to make a statement like, "Hey, last year was a fluke. We're at your level." But an angle that people have been taking a look at: why take the 4 if you're an Indiana fan? Well, why lay the 4 if you're an Ohio State fan when you can just grab the two quarterbacks. If you like Indiana, grab Mendoza at plus 175 to win the Heisman, or saying at plus 170 to win the Heisman. Whoever wins that game, I said to Matt, wins the Heisman. And his words to me is, well, I think Diego, who's right there at 3, 2, or wherever you want to put it, 175, did more with what he did last weekend in Tennessee and not playing this weekend. And in Matt's eyes, Diego's the Heisman Trophy winner.
So I think I will split it. I'm not sure if he said over both, but I'll kind of split it down the middle. I think if Indiana wins, that's a massive win on the resume for Fernando Mendoza. His stats are all better than Julian Sains. I think leading an undefeated Indiana team is just such a massive accomplishment. I think he wins it if Indiana wins. I still don't think Julian Sain wins it if Ohio State wins, because this kind of takes me back to and this was Danny Cannell made this great point. He's like, think about the Mac Jones year, how good Mac Jones was. But it was, the whole conversation was, well, is he even close to the best player on his team? I think Julian Sain's kind of in that same conversation. Is he putting up these stats? One, because of the schedule hasn't been great, but he's also has 2 first-round wide receivers to throw to, and such a great defense that he's really never had to put the ball at risk a lot. His pressure percentage on the year is 8.1% of dropbacks. He's been pressured. That's insane. Like you or me maybe could complete a pass when nobody's in our face. So I think if Ohio State wins, unless Sain just goes berserk, which I think is going to be a low scoring game. So I don't see that really happening. I think Pavia wins it if Pavia wins it if Ohio State wins the game, but Mendoza wins it if Indiana wins the game.
Love the thought process there. Great job there. Great job. Knicks Nuggets for the week. Let me play producer here and pull that up. Bear with me, peeps. Here we go. Knicks Nuggets for the week and lanes this week. James Madison team total over 33.5. UNLV team total over 27.5. IU Ohio State first half under 23.5. A couple lanes here. Texas Tech minus the 12.5, and Texas Tech money line with Virginia money line. Take it away, sir.
I just want to give some leans that I'm looking at that I might play, just because I only had 3 official plays for the week, and I know everybody wants to bet on every game, but that's just not a great way to make money in our business. But wanted to throw some stuff out there. People wanted some other stuff to look at, or just maybe play like a half unit on, if they wanted to get their bets in today. Yeah, James Madison team total. This is more of a spot play. Like Troy's defense is not bad, but James Madison has just been rolling people. I mean, we look 4 of their last 5 games. Their offensive putouts is 59, 58, 35, 52 in 4 of the last 5 games. And the other one was Washington State, who we also, that was a debacle. So that I kind of wrote that one off. I also think in the committee's eyes, and even in their eyes, a blowout in a conference championship game would mean something. So I don't think, and they know they have the next 2-3 weeks off if they do get in the playoff. I think they let it loose here, and I don't think they slow down. I could see them trying to run up the score. Troy also is, and I thought about even playing James Madison minus 23.5. Not such a big number in a game like this, because Troy, it sounds like both of Troy's tackles are going to be out, and James Madison's defensive line is very good. So I think they can create some turnovers, create some short possessions for Troy where James Madison ends up with the ball a lot. So yeah, I think they go over this total. I think they end up probably in that 40 range because they want to make a statement to the committee and to everybody out there, like, we are the best G5 team. The other one is UNLV over 27.5 plus 105. Now, I will tell people out here, this is the way I'm playing it. There is 26.5s out there, but they're very juiced. I think minus 120 and minus 124 are the 2 I saw, unless that's moved down a little bit. But I wanted to get 27.5 at that plus money, which is still under a key number. And this is a number that UNLV has gone over this in every single game this year, every single one. So I'm not sure. I think they're adding a weather factor into it, maybe.
Rain.
But it's drizzle, and I'm more worried about, especially with their offense. I'd be more worried if it was windy, just because of their passing attack and Dane Mullen's offense. But it's only 4 mile per hour winds. So I think they'll be fine in the drizzle. It's not going to be a torrential downpour or anything. If it does, I'll have to eat that bet, and it's going to lose. but I'm playing on what I've researched. And even when they got beat by Boise earlier in the year, it wasn't close. They still scored 31 on them. And I think this offense has gotten better. Calandria has been a shock. I'm not going to lie. It's been a very surprise how good he's been. So yeah, I like the UNLV team total here because I can actually see either team winning. I know Maddox Madsen's back for Boise State, their quarterback who's missed the last 5 weeks, but also what shape is he in? Is he fully healthy? He hasn't played a game in, like I said, 5 weeks. How crisp is he going to be? So I could see either team really winning this. So the spot I wanted to take was who I trust the most to get these points. And at 27.5, with they've hit it every game this season, it's kind of too hard to pass up. The last official one that I have so far, the under 23.5 in that IU Ohio State game. This is one of those, it happened, I think it hit in 3 of the 4 big ones last year, the first half unders. So this is one, I just think this is these two teams who we can both admit haven't played the toughest schedules, at least their offensive hasn't. And I think this is going to be one of those feel each other out type of games early, where both will try to establish the run game. Both defensive backfields are very, very, very good. We saw what Indiana did to Oregon. We saw what they did to everybody else they played. They don't give up many points. So I think this is low scoring early. I didn't want to touch the full game because I think this could be something where somebody packs on something late, just because of maybe there's a late turnover because somebody's trying to force something. Or something like that. So I'm going to take the first half where I believe they'll be playing slow. Now, I will say this is what I'd be most worried about is both these offenses can be so explosive that you're kind of in that danger of Jeremiah Smith popping a 75-yard touchdown in the first drive of the game, and you're just like, oh crap, that might be dead already. But I think both teams will kind of play it slow, feel each other out before making adjustments at the halftime. And then a couple leans. I mentioned Texas Tech. It's hard not to take that 12.5 when they've beaten every game. I believe their lowest win was 22 before this. Like, I know they had that loss, but every win they've had, I think their lowest win was 22. BYU just needs to run the ball to be successful. We saw they couldn't do that at all against Texas Tech the first time. Texas Tech also had to kick 5 field goals in that first game and still blew them out. Like, you think if 2 of those 5 are touchdowns instead of field goals, it looks even worse, and they beat them 48-7 or something. So it's tough not to take that 12.5. But what I'm also looking at, because this could be a weird game, BYU getting the news of Sataki staying potentially. I still think there's a little bit of iffiness there, personally, from what I've read and from what I've heard, where Penn State might still be a thing. But so I just, in the possibility that BYU does keep it close, I think pairing Texas Tech up with that ugly ACC game in Virginia, because it gets you down to minus 118, 119 on different sites. So that's a very playable number for two teams that I really expect Texas Tech to win. Virginia, I hate betting the ACC this year because it's such just a crapshoot. But I think Virginia is just a better team. They've been their defense has been very impressive over the last 5 weeks, surprisingly. And Duke just gave up. They're starting to give up 35-40 to everybody. So I do think Virginia wins, but didn't want to touch the spread there just because, like I said, the ACC. Who knows what's going to happen? They might find a way to screw themselves out of the playoffs in general. And then Georgia, -2 or money line. Right now it's at -2.5, but more money is on Bama. And this is, you always get the big game. I'm going to wait. This is one I'm waiting on until tomorrow, and possibly later in the day tomorrow. So this is one I'll probably post by itself if I play it, because I'd rather get that -2 number. If people haven't been paying attention, 2 has become more of the target number in college football this year as opposed to 2.5, because of those playoff rules and having to go for 2 in the playoffs. You can also see this being, like, I think everybody can't you 23-21 game. It just feels like that, where like it just one of those to me. So I'd rather have it at 2 or the money line. Now I think the money line, you might be able to see it right now. I think 134 was the lowest I saw. So that's not out of the realm of possibility for Georgia at -134. and I'm not going to promote any books, but like every book basically is going to have a boost to use, like a profit boost to use on a game. Wouldn't hate using it on Georgia money line here and get that minus 130, 135 down to like plus 100. I know it limits you to what you can have, but if you want something on the game, you could use a boost there. But yeah, I'm going to wait for hopefully 2 hits tomorrow.
Right now, live at the circa 132 Georgia
132.
money line, Alabama. Excuse me, plus 112. Basically, all the shops have that minus 135, 136. Of course, ESPN, whatever, is at 140, of course. But again, so many big scenarios. Again, the real train wreck, obviously, is BYU. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was wondering the same thing. Coach is back, new sense of life. He's not leaving us. And here's the real funny. The line was 5 or 6, and it's they corrected now to 12. So that's a big jump. And it's almost like, what it reminds me of, Nick, is people that have not been following a team and their destination. And now all of a sudden, because of the lead up to championship week, they're like, oh shit, look at this team. Look at what they've done. Let me jump on them now. And it's one of these, let me see, 17-13 games,
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the defenses. Like I mentioned before, BYU's defense is very good. Like, don't get me wrong, even though they didn't play well against them last game, but they also, I mentioned Texas Tech had to kick 5 field goals, but that's also because BYU's defense stepped up in the red zone. So there's 2 sides to it. And yeah, as we know, just in sports in general, it's tough to beat a team twice. It's even tougher to blow out the same team twice, especially when I wouldn't say Texas Tech isn't a lot better than BYU, but you kind of know what I mean. They're not like overpowering. So yeah, that was one. I just haven't played it yet. I see where the line movement's gone. I know I played Texas Tech officially on this show when they played BYU the first time. I can't remember. It was either 10.5 or 11. So this line's not much different. So they're still going by the power ratings. The books kind of have it about the same. So they're saying they're kind of not taking that last game into account and just going off the ratings and kind of what they've seen in every other game this year. So I think I could see why that number is like that. But I will say to people, I think if you want that 12.5, get it now. Because I do think, like you said, when these casual bettors wake up in the morning, watching College Game Day, all the Texas Tech highlights are on. They're going to talk about how much they've been killing teams. Everybody who just wants to bet these games is going to be on that Texas Tech side. So I wouldn't be shocked if this gets to 14 by noon on Saturday.
Well, great analysis as always. We're rooting for you. I've been the guy rooting for you since your 2 losses.
Yep.
It's like, don't worry, just win out, you'll get in. I still believe Notre Dame's going to get in. They're following their name, their logo. And again, I don't think enough people, I know it's last year, but you still, when the rankings come out to start the following year, it's always the teams that were at the top the year before. And here's a team that was in the championship game last year, okay? And they lose 2 games early by a field goal at Miami and then an extra point against formerly undefeated A&M. Took care of their business, got some profile wins, and not a couple of weeks ago, Jeremiah Love steamed up to top 2 in the Heisman. So again, I think you're in. I do. Unless BYU pulls the upset, then all bets are off, of course. But I definitely think you're in there. So can't wait.
I'll say it this way, Rick, just the feel, just because of everything I've said on this show, I also feel like if Notre Dame misses the playoffs, they did it to themselves. They could have beat Miami. They really should have beat A&M. I think if Miami misses the playoffs, they did it to themselves. You shouldn't lose to SMU and Louisville. So it's one of those things where, yes, both teams, no matter which team misses, the fan base is going to complain. But at the end of the day, win on the field and you're in. And they kind of had their chances. So it's one of those, like, yes, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow if Notre Dame's left out. But also, I would understand it. All you got to do is win one of those 2 games.
Yeah, and it's like Sark coming on his press conference, and it was just so comical because the funny and the moral of the story is pre-flop, it was nothing but Texas, Penn State, Clemson. Those guys are going to be fighting it out. 2 of those teams are going to be in the championship. And here Sark loses opening week. Arch looked like ass. And the whole season, it wasn't a dominant Texas team, and they beat an undefeated A&M team that everyone's been waiting to lose for the last month and a half, and they should have lost 31-3. They were losing 30-3, excuse me, at halftime, and they miraculously won. So, Sark, you did it to yourself. So I don't want to hear it. And you're right. Teams, it's just life, Nick. People can't look in the mirror and say, I made the mistake. It was my fault. Take some accountability, some responsibility to your actions. Miami last year just beat Syracuse. You were double-digit favorites. You were up 41-24 or 40-24, and you let Syracuse score 17 unanswered. You did it to yourself last year. Louisville, SMU.
Alabama last year. Don't lose to a bad Oklahoma team or Vandy, and you're in. Yes, it's just one of those. Yes, if you're out, you did it to yourself. So it's like I said, it'll be a tough pill to swallow, but especially because that loss to A&M was because of a freaking kicker. That is what sucks. Where it's like the guy who's on the field for 5 seconds a game is the one that cost him a playoff spot. That would hurt, but yeah, like you said, you have every opportunity. Everything is in front of you. Now, yes, some schedules are tougher than others, and it's tougher on the field, but it's still in front of you, and it's still your choice.
Yeah, it's just comical, and it's just today's society, the world we live in. I liked the two-team format. Well, we need a couple more. All right, so now you're up to 4. I love the 4. Well, we need to expand. Well, you should have went to 8, not 12. We wouldn't be having some of these conversations. And now, after the shitstorm Sunday, when people are outside looking in, the hell with 12. Let's go to 16. Yeah. And then before you know it, 24. Before you know it, it's going to be a March Madness tournament.
Especially if Duke beats Virginia, yeah, the ACC being left out, being a Power 4 conference, yeah, it's even though we all know this is an SEC Big Ten, that's where all the money is at. No matter how good teams in other conferences are, they kind of control the playoff. But yeah, ACC getting left out, yeah, there will be a massive, massive push for 16, and it'll probably happen next year if that happens. Might happen next year anyways. But even then we're talking about which 4-loss team should get in. So yeah, I don't know. I like it at 12 personally. I don't like the rule. I think, and this is kind of, I guess, deeper in the weeds. I don't like the group of 5 getting an automatic bid unless they have a certain standard. Like they shouldn't just willy-nilly get one. I think there should be something where they're either they have to be ranked in the top 15 or they have to be ranked in the top 20. I would say 15. I think if you're 15, that's close enough, or a certain number of wins over Power 4 teams, so that those group of 5 teams schedule a little bit tougher and don't just rely on, like James Madison, kind of an easy schedule to work your way to 11-1 with a championship game and then get in that way. So I think there's some changes that can be tweaked. It's obviously not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but I think there's some tweaks can be made. I hope it stays at 12, but we all know this money absolutely talks. Yeah, we're going to 16 eventually, unfortunately, as I would like to say. And then people are going to be really mad because Notre Dame won't even have to play any games.
Go follow Nick at Hathcoat 413 Insiders Football as we always wrap up this spot of the show. Nick, tell them where they can find all your work.
Yeah, Hathcoat 413, just like you said. I usually so obviously all my plays go on there along with our Insiders FB account. I've been doing college basketball all year as well. Obviously for this past week, I've just because I've been at home, I kind of gave myself a little hiatus from that because I was also at home having to do all the college baseball stuff that I've been working on leading up to that season, which is obviously our main focus for our NCAA Insiders account and what we do. So I've been putting a ton of time into college baseball and obviously college football with these championship games coming up. So college basketball had to be left on the back burner. So I'll be back into that probably starting next week once this college football season dies down a bit. So those will all be posted for free, obviously on my Twitter account every day. And then yeah, our Insiders FB account later today. I'm going to be posting Matt's plays for tonight, my plays for tonight, Smitty's plays for tonight. So those are going to be free on there as well. So follow us, hit the alert just so you get them right when we put them out. Just make sure you don't get any tonight. I believe it's 4 games. And I know I have a play on 2 of them. Smitty has a play on another one, and I believe Matt has 2 plays on the Friday games. So there's definitely some money to be made tonight.
Well, one last look here. Knicks Nuggets for championship week. James Madison team total over 33.5. UNLV team total over 27.5 plus 105. IU Ohio State first half under 23.5 and a couple leans. Texas Tech minus 12.5 and Texas Tech money line parlay there. So I want to thank everyone watching and listening all week, especially today. 3 shows in the books. Enjoy your weekends, enjoy all the action, and most importantly, stay in your lanes. Listen, this game's around the clock. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you're struggling, there's an 800 number. If you need help, DMs are always open. Come give us a holler. Otherwise, from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Nick Hathcoat at Hathcoat 413 Insiders FB. Everyone have a blessed day, a great weekend. Stay tuned and see you next week.
Go Texas and Georgia.